If you want to be a top agent, you better learn how to get and create emotional capital, right? Because that truly is where and what moves people. Everybody write this down, because here are 3 questions that can help you get to the bottom of anybody's emotional bucket, we'll call it. Ready? What else? What else? Is there anything else? That's it. Ask those 3 questions after you ask a question in the emotional space and watch what happens.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Lively Agent Podcast, where we learn from and tell the stories of the most amazing, badass, and successful thought leaders in real estate. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well, where we post content regularly throughout the week. Thanks so much, guys, and I hope you enjoy the episode. I am extremely excited about today's guest. He is a man that I first met probably about 4 years ago when I first got into real estate. And he's one of those guys that when he's talking, you better be listening, because at any moment he could say something that could change your business or maybe even change your life. He has bought and sold 3 real estate offices and is the founder of Recruiting Bridge, which grew to $1 million in 15 months.
Correct.
Also, you've recruited 1,000 agents in a 7-year period. So let's kick it off. Mr. Adam Roach. Thanks for being here, brother.
Jeremy, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. And, it's kind of fun taking a little trip down memory lane as you're reading those things. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's kind of
absolutely,
fun.
Man. Absolutely. I got a couple of notes here because honestly, there's a lot of things that I want to discuss with you. One of the things that I like, I think you're the only person I've ever met that doesn't use an alarm clock.
Very true.
So I hear about a lot of, mega billionaires that do that, but nobody that I actually know in person. Yeah. So you haven't used an alarm clock in 25 years.
No.
How do you pull that off?
Don't know. It's an internal clock. It's literally wherever I am in the world, I can literally just tell myself when I'm going to wake up, and I wake up.
Like the night before, you say?
Yeah. When I put my head on the pillow, I go right to sleep. I might be a little bit of a clock watcher, but not too bad.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up. So when I was traveling a lot pre-COVID, I would travel to the West Coast, Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, and go right to sleep. So for example, 2 weeks ago, I was in Laguna Beach and flew out there, did some business, stayed on East Coast time. So I woke up at 3:30 a.m. and without an alarm clock, and got right to work at 5:30 for some coaching calls, and went throughout the day, and then went to bed around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Pacific time, got back up at 3:30. Yeah, no alarm clock, just internal.
Is that normally when you wake up pretty early?
So about 4:45 East Coast time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I stay on East Coast time.
Definitely something I strive to do here, but I can't. If I don't have an alarm clock, I'll definitely sleep till 6 or 7 o'clock. Yeah.
It's funny because I've attempted to, as I've gotten older, to play with an alarm clock to see if I could actually sleep from the time I close my eyes until the time something happens. And I just can't handle an alarm clock. It startles the heck out of me. It's like, okay, no, that's not how I want to be woken up. I can wake myself up, and then I do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Definitely maybe something you need to expand on a little, maybe teach people the ways of how you pull that off.
I don't know. Some people I'm sure need 2, 3, 4 alarm clocks, and I can totally appreciate that. But yeah, no, I'm not teaching anybody that because I don't want to be responsive for whatever they mess up if they don't wake up.
If they're late for whatever. Yeah. So let's kick things off here, man. You've been a business coach for me and just an amazing mentor over the past few years. And one of the things that really stands out, and I think anybody who meets you would agree with this, is that you have this almost like this tangible energy and this passion for just being an entrepreneur. Yeah. Just like the game of business.
Sure.
So what's that all about? Where's that come from?
That's a great question. I have no idea. It's just something internal. I think probably from my grandfather. So I'm named after both of my grandfathers. One was Adam and one was Ray. That's my middle name.
Okay.
And I come from a long line of farmers in Indiana. So I think I'm probably 5th generation Roach, if you will, from Indiana. But I was the first generation that did not grow up on the farm. So I actually got to see grandparents working on the farm. We're talking thousands and thousands of acres. And then my other grandfather, he started the first newspaper in a southern Indiana town called Vincennes, Indiana. And so I kind of got to watch him do his thing in the journalistic space. And I've just never really taken well to someone telling me what to do. And it just really comes down to wanting to be an entrepreneur, wanting to do things on my own time, failing my way forward, and then definitely surrounding myself with as many coaches and mentors as I can, because I've been coached my entire life. And I do believe that that's a space that you have to play. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you only know so much, right? And you've got to get out and find and surround yourself with either mentors, coaches, people that are bigger, better, faster, stronger than you. I do believe that you grow into the conversations that you're having. And so if you're having simple conversations that are the same soup reheated every single day, you're not growing. And so in the entrepreneurial space, I do believe that you have to be growing every single day, or you can fall flat on your face really fast. And if you don't have a net, you're screwed.
100%.
Yep.
100%. And one of the things that you've talked about with me before is, finding, almost kind of having a keen eye. There's a couple things you've said to me. One is always have an eye out for the next talented individual, join your team.
Always.
And the other one is always kind of looking for a gap where there's a problem and a solution that aren't quite lined up. Right. And it seems like that's something that you do a lot of, for example, with your company Recruiting Bridge. And it's just something you always are kind of aware of and looking out for.
Yeah, I do believe in who's. Who's are the most important thing, in my opinion, to not only surround yourself with, but to pay attention to who do you need in your world. Because we've all heard of the 80-20 principle. Can you break down your 20% even to another 20%? Can you break that 20% down even to another 20%? So 2 years ago, I was at a GoBundance event, and if you don't know GoBundance, everybody should go check out GoBundance. It's a fascinating group of now it's men, it's women, it's families, and that's kind of where I got my drive from was GoBundance in the entrepreneurial space when it comes to who's. But I got to meet Ed Milet, and Ed said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to kick everyone's butt in this room because I do 3 days in one," and we all were listening on the edge of our seat. And here's what he meant. From 6 to 12, he does one day. From 12 to 6, he does another day. And from 6 to 12, if he goes that long, is his third day. But what he knows is he can do his 20% of his 20% of his 20% because of the who's he's surrounded himself with, so that each one of his businesses is moving forward every single day. So yes, as we've talked about, you should always be searching for who's and talent in your space. Always.
Yeah. No, it makes so much sense. And that's a concept of leverage, right? That we start to learn early on, especially in the real estate world, right?
Totally.
Anybody listening to this, they know when, they've had, 5 or 6 or 8 clients that they're trying to work at the same time,
right?
And they need to bring on that admin support or that first buyer's agent or whatever, that first kind of leverage component.
Sure.
And then it just kind of builds from there.
It does. And I do believe, so I'll give you a perfect example. You have to be proactive with who's. You have to be proactive with your mentors. You have to be proactive with your coaches. And what I mean by that is, this is a no joke story. I don't even know if I shared this with you. 3 weeks ago, from Saturday to Sunday, no alarm clock needed on the weekends, right? I woke up and I had this dream of a mentor that I hadn't spoken to in a long time. And I reached out to that person after I woke up. I said, I'm just going to take initiative here. I'm going to see where they are. I said, listen, I don't care where you are in the world. I'm going to fly to you. I want between 4 to 6 hours. And here's what I'll do to earn that. If you're available, let me know. And it was crickets. And then all of a sudden I got a reply. I said, yep, I'll be here. Fly here. And so I jumped on an airplane, flew there, had 42 questions prepared, and sat in the kitchen of their house for, 4 to 6 hours. And I'm sharing that story because that is a who. And my mentor said something pretty powerful. He says, if you have a business, it's your job to understand that the world is your database. He said, the problem is people don't know how to prospect the world. I thought, wow, you're absolutely right. He says, because people try to do too many things. So if we're talking back now to the real estate space, he says the challenge with realtors is they will think about leveraging when pain creeps in versus thinking about leveraging way before they even should be leveraging, right? He says, so think about it this way. Here we are in March. And if you decide that you want to start to leverage next year, okay, so maybe you need an EA, or maybe you need another revenue producer on your team, or maybe you need another transaction coordinator, whatever it may be, that if you start that person then in January, right? Everybody has this thing in their head about, gosh, I can't wait. January is going to be the month. No, you got to start that now. You got to start that in June, if you will, if you want that to really kick in the first of the year. So when it comes to that leverage space, take action now, right? Go find some who's. Go figure out where it is it's not working for you in your business, or where you don't want to be in your business, and go find as many who's as you can in that space.
Yep. And so how did you know, you said you reached out to your mentor. You said, here's what I want, here's what I'll do. How did you know what to offer this person, to make it kind of a win-win scenario?
Sure. Well, if you think about it, what do all high-producing people want? Their time.
Time. Yeah.
They want their time back. So what could I do to help offset this individual? And so I actually helped with creating, let's just call it a program, or creating something that could help all of his clients, right? And so that was him getting his time back by me offering a service to all of his clients.
Very cool.
And so it's kind of fun.
Very cool.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's circle back. You mentioned you're fifth generation Roach. The only one that didn't have to work the farm.
Grow up on the farm. That's right.
Have you ever had to get out there? Like, was it, we talking animals, crops, a little everything?
All the above. Yeah.
All of it? Okay. Is the farm still in your family?
No.
Okay. Yep. All right. So you don't have to like.
Nope. Grandfather sold it a long time ago.
All right. Yep. Nice. So we're all in on the real estate at this point.
For sure.
Okay. So let's talk about some of your idols, your heroes, the people you looked up to. You mentioned your father, your grandfather, and then also some tennis greats. You're a tennis pro,
sure,
right? In a previous
former tennis pro, right? Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, and how some of those influences have shaped who you are and where you are.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you this. So as an adult, I love to read books. And I'd never gotten into autobiographies or even biographies before. And this is probably 2005 maybe. And I'm in Los Angeles. I'm living in Los Angeles. And so I'll give you a quick little background. So grew up in Indiana, went to Indiana University, played collegiate tennis, and then attempted to play some professional tennis and found out real quick I was an American, not a European. I was getting my butt kicked every single time. And I'm not a big fan of losing. So I actually got out of that role and got into the tennis business. And myself and two other guys, we own what was called the concession rights to the city of Beverly Hills public tennis courts. So
you're an Indiana boy.
Yep.
Now you're in Beverly Hills.
Now I'm in Beverly Hills.
That's a big change.
It was a big change. Yeah. And so we had these courts. We had 38 courts that we had to run the business on. So every year, new business plan. Now at the time, I'm like 20 something. And I'm loving the growth of business, but I'm not really understanding how to continue to scale. And I don't think I understood scale at the time. So I picked up this book called The Titan. And The Titan was basically a biography, because he would never let anybody write about him without his permission, with John D. Rockefeller. And I just fell in love with the way that this guy, whether you like him or not, I mean, he's still the richest. That family is still the richest family in the world. And we'll never know truly how net worth wise they are big, because again, that's big oil, right? So I took all of that mindset of scale and growth and really let that dead dude be my mentor. Really did. Okay. And so paid attention to how he continued to scale his business, how he started to, even in the railroad world, right? He needed his oil to get to certain places, and railroad people were just screwing him. So he found another way, and he created what are called the pipelines, right? And so with all that being said, how did I bring that into my world? As a tennis player, I thought, wow, how can I be in the tennis space and grow a business? Well, I had to bring more pros in. So I had to recruit tennis pros from other clubs. And which is what I did. So I went and knocked on doors, went and knocked on tennis nets and said, hey, listen, you look really good here. Imagine what you could look like over there. Make more money. And so that started me into the recruiting space. So some of the mentors that I had were ironically, not to get into religion, were some rabbis, right? Rabbis in Beverly Hills that were friends. And so I literally got to learn and lean on them about how to grow your business, how to grow money, how to build relationships. And that's kind of what started me down the path of recruiting, was how to build relationships, but also make it a little bit about money.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and so what was your original value proposition? You're trying to recruit a tennis pro to, I guess, come work with you instead of wherever they were. Right. What was the value prop?
So we were open to the public. Right. Okay. So we were open to the public. So even looking at it now as it relates to real estate, the parallels there were super duper simple, because again, we had to lead generate for clients. Right. So we had, so being open to the public, but yet we were still exclusive because we were in Beverly Hills and only in Beverly Hills, that we could have anybody walk in off the street to ask for a tennis lesson. Versus being at a full-blown country club, you had your limitations because you had a finite number of members, right? So we were open to public. So I could say to you, hey, Jeremy, congratulations. You know, I'm sure you're doing great at Beverly Hills Country Club. Imagine what it would look like if you were at Beverly Hills Tennis with unlimited leads.
Yep.
Right?
So I said you got a bigger lead pool.
Had a much bigger lead pool. And then I gave it to you. You didn't have to be on a salary. You could just pay me a court fee. And because of that court fee, I didn't care what you charged.
Got it.
So you want to charge $200? Great. Pay me $25. You can have it.
Got it.
And so they did.
And they could set their own rate, set their own value.
Mm-hmm. And so 2007, I was named Southern California Tennis Pro of the Year.
Really?
Because we grew that company from nothing to it's still big, powerful today.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so tennis was obviously a big part of you coming up. You know, one of the things that I found to be pretty consistent is that athletes and former athletes transition very well into business because it seems like a lot of the same characteristics and a lot of the same, you know, kind of the grit and the little details that go into a subtle incremental improvement in your sport. It's kind of the same way in business, right? And so how would you say, you know, being first a tennis athlete and then moving into a tennis pro has now shaped how you do things today and has helped you kind of overcome some of the challenges you've had in business?
Well, I'll go back to my father. So my father was an Olympic swim coach. And he's instilled in myself and my sister that hard work pays off. Hard work pays for everything. And it doesn't matter if you're the slowest person in the pool, you go find the fastest people and see if you can get in their lane, right? And so that was one thing that I realized that, again, you have to surround yourself with people that are bigger, better, faster, stronger than you. If you're the smartest person in the room, get the hell out of that room, right?
Yep.
Or in that case, get the hell out of that lane and go to the faster lane, right? Swimming lane. So with all that being said, how did that transition? It was just a pace thing. So I had this pace thing inside of me that was just like, listen, we need to go faster, right? We need to go faster. We need to create more success fast. But here's what I did understand. I didn't understand at the time, but now I understand it now, is, in my opinion, the fastest way to success, and again, everybody can define success their own way, was to appeal to the masses. How can I appeal to the masses? I feel one-on-one is fantastic, but it's not appealing to the masses. And then I befriended John Maxwell. And John Maxwell, if you know him, he's a leadership guru that, in my opinion, has literally transcended many countries even with his coaching, with his leadership style, with his books. And so I brought all that forward and thought, okay, let's continue to develop pace. Let's continue to appeal to the masses. And let's be the dumbest guy in the room so you can keep learning. And that's what we do now in the I Live Recruiting Company is we just continue to grow it all day, every day. So I think right now we're bringing on probably about 3 to 4 new clients a week, which is really fun in the recruiting space. And we just don't stop.
So, okay. So that's a great kind of transition here. So I mentioned in the very beginning, to me, you're the godfather of recruiting, right? So 1,000 agents in a 7-year period is pretty unheard of. I mean, 1,000 agents in a lifetime is actually pretty insane. So obviously you figured something out there.
Sure.
And then along the way, you created a software platform, Recruiting Bridge.
Yes.
Right. And then now you've continued to develop that brand into I Love Recruiting, right? Show everyone on the camera. Let's see the shirt. There you go.
There it is.
So I Love Recruiting. So what's that all about? What's the vision for that, and what message are you trying to get across?
Right. So we have a vision statement that is to empower recruiters, and in our vision statement, there's an asterisk next to recruiters, to change 100 million lives. And we say that everybody is a recruiter, right? Everybody. I mean, you had to probably recruit your daughter to make her bed today, right? Same thing with my kids.
Tennis pros.
Tennis pros. You have to recruit, and just like what we've been talking about, talent. You have to learn how to attract and recruit talent. So back in the early days when I transitioned then from tennis to real estate, I took over Keller Williams office in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I was horrible at recruiting. And I say horrible, I mean, I was so bad that I would show up and make it all about myself. Right? Here I'm this guy from California, and I've got this suit on.
Slick Beverly Hills guy.
And it was all fake. It was 100% all fake because I was showing up to impress. I was not showing up to be in a relationship. Okay. And so fast forward then to 2016, 17. Now we're recruiting about 15 people a month based on a blueprint, if you will, of how to build relationships. And how do we create gaps, right? How do we create gaps in a conversation with someone that then when they walk off or away from that conversation, like, holy cow, that was the most amazing conversation I've ever had. I don't think I learned anything about Adam, but boy, I sure learned a lot about myself.
Can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean by when you say create a gap?
Yeah. So for example, and again, this is an agent podcast. Agents realize or should realize that when they're sitting at the dining room table, specifically right now, right, with as skinny as the listing market really is, we've got to pay attention to what specifically the selling client is looking for, right? What are they looking to accomplish? What are they looking to do? And you know this, you're really good at this. What can we create as we're sitting there to create awareness that that individual across the table from us is at point A, but they want to get to point B, and how can we help them to get there faster? Keyword there is faster. Now, one thing that we do in recruiting, that we do in our coaching, is we're not here to help you or teach you how to solve problems. Because I had a mentor teach me this a long time ago. Here's the recruiting equation. Relationships plus value and validity over time equals self-discovery. So relationships plus value and validity over time equals self-discovery. Same thing in the agent space. When you're building that relationship and you understand how to impact the value, which is probably get their home sold as fast as they want it to be, over time, they'll self-discover that you are the only person that can help them get from A to B. And that's it.
Because you've been showing up consistently, delivering value in some capacity.
Right.
Right. So when they finally decide, hey, I need to get here,
right,
you're probably the person that can help me get there.
And the key word there is value, because it's not one size shoe fits all in value. Everybody has their own unique value gap that they need to have filled. And again, we're not here to solve that. We're here to understand what it is and be resourceful in that space, right? Because if we become the resource, our shoulders are only so big, and there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
And if you're working with 5 clients, 10 clients, 20 clients, 30 clients, how can you be that resource for everything? You can't. You really can't. So you understand their gaps and you understand the resources that can fill that value gap.
And so you're saying when you originally were terrible at recruiting, showing up to impress,
right,
you weren't taking the time to understand and figure out what that gap was.
No, hell no. I just wanted to tell them all about Beverly Hills. Yeah. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell them about their average sales price was $900,000. I wanted to tell them about selling the house next to Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion. Right? I wanted to tell them all of that. They didn't care.
Right.
They didn't care.
Right. Unless they know you can solve their problem.
Right.
Right. And so it's the same thing on a listing appointment, right? If you're showing up talking about how many homes you've sold or how many millions your brokerage did or your marketing plan, this, that, and the other. If you don't understand, if they don't feel like you fully understand that, you know, they're downsizing because their kids just left the house and this is an emotional process and here's where this memory was made and
right,
then they don't really care about your marketing plan.
Right. Well, I think you nailed on something right there, the emotional process. Because that truly, if you want to be a top recruiter, if you want to be a top agent, you better learn how to get and create emotional capital, right? Because that truly is where and what moves people. Remember, there's two parts of your brain, and there's a book called Inner Size. I highly recommend everyone go and reading that book, Inner Size. It tells you there's two types. Your brain has two different capacities for understanding. The first one is the part that hears words and understands language does not make decisions, right? That's the logical part of your brain. The part that actually makes decisions can't hear words, it feels, right? That's called the limbic part of your brain. And the limbic part of your brain, if you've ever sat at a dining room table, or if you've recruited and you're sitting across from somebody, they're like, wow, Jeremy, that makes all the sense in the world. It just doesn't feel right, right? Have you ever had anybody say that?
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I probably said it myself as well. Yeah.
It's because that individual did not connect with you emotionally, right? And there has to be an emotional connection there. And so the emotional connection, again, if you're in the recruiting space, it literally has to look like this. So Jeremy, tell me exactly what it is you're looking to accomplish. Fantastic. When are you looking to accomplish that? Tell me what specifically is stopping you right now, right? Tell me more. Now, I call it the 3 amigos. I haven't trademarked this yet or even copywritten this yet, but here, everybody write this down, because here are 3 questions that can help you get to the bottom of anybody's emotional bucket, we'll call it. Ready? What else? What else? Is there anything else? That's it. Ask those 3 questions after you ask a question in the emotional space and watch what happens.
Interesting. And how's that typically go?
Well, it's very simple. So, for example, if we're sitting here and you say, "Yeah, I want to sell my $1 million. I want to sell my home for $1 million." Great. What specifically is important to you about the $1 million number? Well, When we do that, we'll net 300,000. Well, great. What specifically is important to you about the 300,000? Well, we'll be able to move into a new house. We'll be able to pay off some debt, and we'll get to have some money put aside. Great. What's important to you about that? Wow. When we pay off debt, it'll just be a load lifted off our shoulders. What else? Oh, I'll be able to sleep better. What else? Right? And use that language. Go down deep with your tonality.
They're going to tell you exactly how to close them. They're going to tell you what all the pain points are.
And you say, is there anything else, Jeremy? And they'll sit there and they'll say, I don't think so. and then you're there, right? You know you're right there. And that's it.
I love how the tone changes, the energy changes even as you deliver it.
Yeah. And here's the cool part, right? Now, you don't do this to jump out behind the proverbial bush and say, I gotcha. Right?
Right.
That's not what you're doing. The equation is relationships plus value and validity over time equals self-discovery. No one's asking him these questions. All right? No one's going as deep as you're going. Be the person that goes deep diving. We call it mineral diving in coaching. Go mineral diving, right? Find those minerals. Get down in there.
Yep. It's funny you say that too, because that's when I first got into the business, I got, I'm pulling coaching and advice and tips, and I'm just kind of trying to, scrape together how it is I'm going to succeed right in this business. Right. And I'm learning how to do listing appointments and putting all that together. And everything that I saw said that your listing appointment should take, 30 to 45 minutes, right? Something like that. And I couldn't seem to get out of a listing appointment in under an hour and a half, right? Like 90 minutes minimum, sometimes up to like 2.5 hours.
Sure.
And I was just, and I'm in these groups and I'm talking to coaches. I'm like, how are you getting out of a listing appointment in less than an hour, but still doing everything that we're talking about right now? Right. Like, unless they, when they go off on a little bit of a tangent about, this part of the house and what had happened. And then there was this thing, but then their daughter had this other thing. And then so it made for this whole story. And like, if you actually let them tell those stories, right, and you you look for those nuggets, those minerals, like you said, it takes time.
Sure.
Right. And then you get to the part where you're like, okay, well, here's where I'm going to build the bridge and actually help you accomplish your goal, which is whatever it is, the money or the time or whatever that may be. But it's kind of along that same philosophy.
Totally.
Right. Like I can't get out of it. I still, to this day, I can't get out of a listing appointment in less than 90 minutes.
Now, I would say if I was coaching an agent or someone that said that, tell me what purposefully and intentionally you have prepared so that you can get out of there in under 90 minutes, right? What are your series of questions? So I've created a list of 26 questions. If anybody wants to go to iloverecruiting.com, they can put in their name and I'll send them these 26 questions that I've created that gets you in and out of a recruiting appointment in about an hour with massive nuggets.
Love it. All right, we'll definitely put that in the description as well.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we got a couple minutes left here, Adam.
Okay.
So
speed round.
Speed round. One last question. Two last questions. Yep. What advice, if you can go back 10 years, what advice would you give yourself?
Go find who's faster.
Okay.
Definitely go find who's faster, and you're definitely not the smartest person, period. Yeah.
Lose the Beverly Hills suit.
Lose the Beverly Hills suit for sure.
All right. What would you say to an agent that is brand new in the business, in real estate right now?
Build your database. Build your database and touch it. How many times does Amazon touch you a day? Right? Pay attention to that. Do not be that person. Let me rephrase that. Be the person that touches your database as many times as you can without getting a restraining order. I'm serious. Build your database. You should build your database as big, fast, and strong as you can. And if you don't know how to go build your database, get out there, pull out the phone book. Pull out the phone book and call everybody. Right? What do you have to lose?
Dude, the worst they can say is no.
Correct.
Ryan Serhant says, I will follow up with you until you die.
That's correct. That's when you stop.
Yep. Yeah.
That's when you stop. And here's the thing. No means not right now.
Right.
Just keep going. Be persistent. So a brand new spanking agent sitting right here, I'm asking them to see their database. How big is their database? What is their daily method of operations to build that database? And what is their action items to touch that database every single day?
Love it, man. Dude, Adam, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank
you so much for coming on the show.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody listening or watching wants to find you, engage with you, learn more about you, where should they go?
Yep, they can go to iloverecruiting.com. They can come join our The Art of Recruiting group in Facebook. It's TAO Recruiting. If you do the URL, you can find me on Instagram, Adam R. Roach. You can find I Love Recruiting at I.LoveRecruiting on Instagram, and that's where we are.
Sounds good, man. How can I get one of those t-shirts?
Hey, we'll just give you one. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, bro.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like or subscribe or follow or whatever platform you're on. Just push that button to make sure you don't miss the next video. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.